Welcome to Escape Roomology. Today we're talking about urgency. I'm Mike.
And I'm Billy.
We are brothers and pastors and escape room enthusiasts.
Our hope is with these videos is that by the end of each one of these videos, you like escape rooms more than you did before, and that you're even a little bit better at doing them.
There are some awesome escape room channels out there, but almost all of them were created for escape room designers. This is not one of those. We are not designers. In fact, we've played a ton of rooms, but we've never designed a single room. And so this channel is written primarily for players who are beginners, who want to become better at escape rooms, and for enthusiasts who just like talking about what makes a good room good and what makes a bad room bad.
But if you are a designer, we want you to know that you're listening to your customers. That's us. And hopefully here's something that might give you some feedback that would help make your rooms better.
At the beginning of each one of these videos, we're going to talk about one of our escape room experiences and kind of give a short review of a room. And then we're going to kind of reflect on that experience and talk about something that we learned as a result of it. And usually we're going to talk about a room that we really liked. Today, that is not the case. We're going to talk about a room that we felt like was really bad. That room is Stage Call at Escape Experience in Dallas, Texas. Most of the time we'll talk about a good one. This one was actually one of the very few rooms we've ever given a 1 out of 5 rating.
Yeah, this room was really bad. And we've said this before, that even a bad room, you can have a lot of fun in a bad room. But as we just went through the room and looked back on it, we just thought that was just not a quality room. And so as we talked about it, we remembered how chaotic it felt, and the room was not linear at all. Everything just kind of jumped from one piece to the other. We didn't have to work together very much at all. People could just kind of work on their own locks, and it was just a room full of like Generation 1 locks and a bunch of puzzles to open those locks. But this one just felt like it was just kind of a disorganized mess, and you just finish all the puzzles, you figure out the last puzzle, and you're done. And
yeah, and that day we were playing with our brother-in-law, Ron, so it was just the three of us, and we actually demolished the room record for that room. Yeah. And the reason why we beat it is because we were rushing so fast, because we assumed that this area in the escape room could not be the only area. We assumed that at some point some door is going to open up or a desk is going to move, and we're going to have to rush out of this room and go do puzzles in another room. And so we're flying through this room thinking that we're behind the whole time, opening up a bunch of locks. And no, actually, we never left this room. We finished this area of the room, and boom, we're done.
Yeah, at the end of it, the guy just opened the door and said, "Hey, you just smashed the record." And we're like, "That's it? We're done?" Oh, okay. And then we just kind of waited for our other group who was in another room that was actually, we didn't get to do that room, but looked a lot better than this particular room. That was just the single room. But we learned something kind of cool in that room, and that's this concept of, we didn't learn about urgency in life, but urgency in escape rooms. And you've got obviously a countdown timer in all your escape rooms. And I think a lot of teams that don't do well in escape rooms get kind of lulled into a false sense of calm because, well, you've got an hour. So even if you're starting to go really, really fast, they start to get frustrated with maybe one particular puzzle and slow way down. And they kind of lose the steady urgency that would get you through a room.
And you may be one of those type of players who would say, I don't like to rush. I want to move slow and enjoy the room. And that's fine, but that is not us. We are competitive. We like to win. And so we will go fast through a room, and we will enjoy it, but we're going to do it while we're going fast.
Yeah. So you might want to just kind of ask your teammates that are going into the room with you what kind of experience they would want to have, and then gear yourselves to go that direction. Maybe you only have like one person who's competitive, and that's fine. But me personally, I can watch a comedy on TV for free, or go to a movie for $10. So to spend $30, $40 more on an escape room that's just going to be fun, and I don't get to experience the win, is just not as much fun for me. I can get my laughs someplace else.
There's some people who just go into an escape room for flirting, I think, or you got that guy who's just wanting to crack some jokes or whatever. That's not us. So I guess it really comes down to how competitive you are. But the reality is that most
I can't
teams,
remember one time you've ever flirted with me in a room, Mike.
I don't think I've ever flirted with you in a room.
I don't think that ever slowed us down at all. So I appreciate that.
Yeah. So I guess it really comes down to how competitive you are. But the reality is that most teams have someone on the team who is competitive. And it really only takes one competitive person to push the team forward. Even if you've got a perfectionist who wants to spend all his time on one element, and then you've got somebody else who just wants to crack the jokes the whole time, a competitive leader can usually get a team moving by constantly reminding them that the clock is ticking. We've got this much time on the clock. Hey, you go over here, you do this. We got to hurry.
Yeah. And let me just ask you the question. Do you think, Mike, it would be helpful if that one competitive leader just like every 5 minutes just yelled the phrase, "There's no time," like just that way?
That's what she said? Is that what he says?
Just there's no time. Just that way, that tone every few minutes. If you're that competitive leader and you're trying to get your group, you give them a kick in the pants, yell that phrase every once in a while. If you got the one guy who thinks he's funny and he's cracking jokes, just yell at him back, "There's no time," and make him take it a little bit more seriously. And then if you are that one leader who just says, "I want to win, I want to finish," then one of your key strategies is to take hints early and take enough hints to get through the end of the room. There's just not enough time in that 60 or sometimes 70 minutes to get stuck or to just hang out and have somebody saying, "Hey, there's this one other room and we don't have time for anecdotes." So
there's no time.
There's no time.
Yeah. So take hints early and take hints often. We see it all the time. People taking too few hints. One thing that I've seen teams do is they set some arbitrary time that they're going to take a hint. We'll take a hint at 30 minutes and then we'll take a hint at 15 minutes. That does not work. There is no point in waiting to take a hint. If you are stuck, you have to keep moving. You don't have time to be stuck. Billy, has there ever been a time that we finished a room and said, "Man, we took too many hints that time"?
No. The opposite is usually true. We regretted not taking one sooner. We have regretted having to take one because once we get the hint, we're like, "Oh, well, that was obvious.
Dang it, we should have known that." Yeah.
Yeah, but then once it would have felt worse if we'd spent another 10 minutes on it and then had to get the hint for the obvious stupid hint that we needed and shouldn't have needed.
Yeah, and taking hints too slowly, just sometimes it happens because your pride gets in the way and you're like, "No, I can get this," but or frustration gets in the way. But when it keeps us from taking a hint when we need to take a hint, it just zaps momentum, and momentum in an escape room is so incredibly important. In fact, usually when you get into a room, we'll ask our game master right up front, just to let you know, we love generous hints. Will you give us generous hints? And I think they really like that. If they're good at their jobs, their goal is to make everybody enjoy the experience. So they're going to cater the experience to what you want. So if you want generous, often hints, then ask for generous and often hints.
Yeah, and they watch enough of these groups. They know about where a group should be at about which time. And they're probably going to give way more generous hints if you're lagging behind, or maybe a little bit more or less obvious hints if you're going way too fast. So trust your game master a little bit. They've watched dozens of these groups go through this same room, and they kind of know where you need to be at what time. So we're talking about urgency to keep the momentum going, like Mike said, but not hurry, because excessive hurry is going to hurt you in the other way. If you hurry too much, you're inevitably going to overlook something, miss something on a poster, forget to search that last bottom drawer on a dresser or something like that, or just
the middle drawer.
Enter the code wrong. How many times you just enter the wrong number and so hurry can be your enemy, but urgency can be your friend.
Yeah, and I think we probably fail more rooms or make mistakes in more rooms because we didn't search well enough than any other thing. So we're definitely not talking about excessive hurry. We're just talking about keeping the momentum going. I also think that we're hurrying too much when we go so fast that we're not actually enjoying the story of the room, enjoying the immersion of the room. Maybe we're getting a little frustrated with each other. That's probably a sign that we're going too fast. I don't like it when we go so fast that we just totally miss the story of the room.
Yeah, and I think that's what happened in that stage call room we were talking about. We just felt so much pressure. We saw the number of locks in the room, and then we assumed that there was another room, that we were just hurrying so fast, and we had a lot of momentum, maybe almost too much momentum, that we just finished it so quickly. But none of us could remember what the story. It had something to do with the Academy Awards or something like that. It was a dressing room of some sort, but not interesting at all. But maybe it was, but we overlooked it. I don't know.
So there's got to be some kind of balance here between urgency and hurry. I'm trying to think of a metaphor. It'd be like when you wake up late and you need to get to work and you got to get the kids ready. And so you got that feeling of hurry, and you're going to throw the kids' clothes on and maybe forget to put a kid's t-shirt on or something on their way to school, or you're going to forget something at the house because you were just rushing too fast. But then there's the other end of hurry where it's like your server comes out and they're like, hey, we're closing in 5 minutes. Well, you just gave us our food. So we're going to take our time here and not hurry up and go through this eating process, because we recognize we got some time. You can stay open a little bit. Somewhere between this, okay, there is a goal in mind, but at the same time, we don't want to go so fast that we miss something.
Okay. Shifting gears a little bit. Another tip. Mike, talk a little bit about Occam's Razor, which is this theory that the simplest solution is usually the right solution, and that's definitely true in most escape rooms. So talk about that fact and applying it to an escape room.
Yeah, and I don't know how many times we have wasted time trying to figure out some crazy complex solution to a puzzle, or trying to do some big mathematical equation, and the actual solution to the puzzle is actually something very simple. You can't spend a lot of time overthinking a puzzle. So urgency, I think, is also reminding yourself that sometimes the easy answer is the answer. Escape rooms are meant to be challenging, but at the same time, they are designed to be completed by the average person. You don't have to be a crazy intelligent person to solve puzzles in a good escape room.
Yeah, like we've done several puzzles in several rooms that required knowledge of the periodic table, but they'll put the periodic table as a poster on the wall.
Good example.
And you'll have to search for the clues on there. If you had it memorized, you would go faster, but you don't have to have had it memorized. So it may help you to go faster in some areas, to remember some basic geography that you learned in school, but they're usually going to give you enough props in the room that you can refer to those things. So if you find a puzzle that just has a lot of information about some subject you haven't studied since high school or college or whatever, you're really not going to have previous knowledge about some ancient period in history or something like that.
And if you find a clue that's written in German, unless you're in Germany, then they're not going to expect you.
They probably do theirs in German, I would guess.
They probably do some of their stuff in German, but they're probably not going to expect you to be able to read German. So you're probably looking for something more simple. You're probably looking for some letters that are bolded, or if you look at the letters down the left side of the page, they say a word, or it's probably something outside of having to read the page. And that's probably true about most pages of reading. You usually don't have to read the whole page. You're looking for some kind of anomaly or something that's out of order on the page.
So Mike, do you have like a general rule that you give yourself about how many minutes you give a puzzle before you just cave in and ask for a hint?
5 minutes is too long. If you are working on a puzzle for 5 minutes or more, I actually maybe 4 minutes or more, then you're not getting it, and something is out of order. Ask for a hint. There's a good chance if you've been working on something for 4 minutes, you don't have all the information you need yet. So if it's a nonlinear room, leave that puzzle, go work on something else, and come back to it later. Because if you've been working on it for 4 minutes, you probably don't have everything you need. And another thing that you can do to save time in a room, I would say, is show up early, because some of these things, like how many hints can we take, is stuff that you need to know going into the room. They're not going to take time away from you if you don't show up to your room 15 minutes early, but there are things that you can do before you go into the room that will actually help you save time once you get into the room.
Yeah. So everybody's got to do the same things, like sign a waiver, pay your money if you haven't paid online already. But what I've watched, or what I've learned from just watching Mike, is I don't watch him do this, but he does this before every room. He finds the bathroom. No, he finds a bathroom, and in between, if we're doing 2 or 3 rooms back to back, he wants to go to the bathroom in between. I think it's like pregame ritual stuff, but I have had to go to the bathroom once in a room, and it does kind of hurt the momentum, and it's embarrassing. So you can try to hold it, and you're going to make some mistakes. That's going to lead to the hurry. And you just don't think clearly when you got to hold it. So Mike's pregame ritual is probably a pretty good one too.
So before we go into a room, every single time we do that, we get the detail stuff, including using the restroom, out of the way. Then there are 6 questions that we take time talking through with a game master before we go into the room. Sometimes they'll give this information to you without you having to ask the question, but these are 6 things that we make sure we know before our clock starts, before our reservation time, every single time when we get to a room. So let's go through those. The first one is, does this room have red herrings? Red herrings are intentional distractions. They're just totally pointless items or pointless puzzles in a room that don't actually open any locks, don't actually help you. They're just totally there to waste your time. And we have a whole blog post about, number 1, why red herrings are dumb, but also about how to play rooms that do have red herrings in them. If you want to read that blog post, you can go over to escaperoomology.net and read more about how to play rooms with red herrings.
Second thing we ask is whether you use the same key or same code twice. And that'll prevent you from trying to keep all your stuff in the same place. Because once you've used a code, you can set that code aside, or once you've used a key, set it aside. So you're not trying an already used key on a new lock if you know everything just gets used once.
We also ask about hints. So we talked about this earlier. How many hints can we take? Is there a penalty if I take more than a certain number of hints? If I don't understand a hint, how can I follow up and prod more? Is it okay? Does it count towards my penalty, or how does that stuff work?
Yeah, and most game masters will offer this information, but if you don't hear it, ask about it. And another thing to ask about is whether you're going to need to move furniture, move heavy objects, move anything at all, look behind posters, things like that. They usually don't want you doing those things, so they're going to tell you about it. But if you don't hear it, say, then I assume we have to move furniture, or do we have to reach up high? Do we have to stand on anything? Again, they're going to offer that, but if they don't, you want to know that, so you're not moving stuff around you're not supposed to be moving around.
Yeah, if you do, you're going to end up pissing off a game master, and then their hints for you are going to be terrible because you moved furniture you weren't supposed to move. So
they will punish you.
Yep. Next, we always ask about cell phones. Ask them if you are allowed to use cell phones in a room. That's extremely important, especially in dark rooms, because a lot of times the flashlights or torches you get in a dark room aren't that good, and the cell phone flashlights are the best flashlights. And so if they allow flashlight or cell phone use, we will pull them out and we will use those as our flashlight in the room. So just make sure that's allowed.
Yeah. Or if there's 2 flashlights and your partner gives you the crappy one and he keeps the good one, then I like to pull out the cell phone and use that flashlight.
Or if your partner has a knack for breaking flashlights or finding flashlights that batteries are about to die. And
I have that knack. Somehow I have that knack.
Yes, you do.
And then talk through with the game master how you want the hints to be given, how generous you want them to be. If you don't want any hints, then say, don't give me any hints. The one room we didn't finish recently had some really cool puzzles toward the end that we would have just loved to be able to finish the room and seen it all. So we usually say, we want to finish this room. It's not a badge of honor to say, we finished the room, no hints. That's great if you're into that. We're just in it to see the story through to completion.
Yeah, people who try not to take hints usually end up not finishing the room. Then you don't get to see all the room, just destroys the experience. So, hey, thank you for joining us for this first episode of Escape Roomology. We hope that you enjoyed it, that it was helpful to you, and that you will subscribe so that you receive future escape room tips.
Subscribe. There's time.
There's time. There's no time.
There's no time.